Hi, back for reading log number 7. For this one, I have a really cool nonfiction, the Dissent. Ruth Bader Ginsburg makes her mark, which is I didn't even know that this existed. So whenever I was looking at books and I found this and it was at our library, I was so excited because I'm a huge fan. So I actually learned a couple things about her through this. For this one, it's grades 3 through 5. It's by Debbie Levy and illustrated by Elizabeth Baddeley. And then it's published by Simon and Schuster Books in 2016, so relatively new as well. So if we're looking at the cover, obviously we have Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a younger girl, and then her. This is which I didn't know, but she wears a different collar whenever she dissents in the Supreme Court. So this is her dissenting collar that she wears on the cover, and they do this close up a couple times in the book whenever they're explaining why she dissented or whenever they're trying to convey a really strong moment. So then on the back cover, it says, "Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that you will lead others to join you," which I think is a really awesome quote by Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I think that's a really good thing to put on the back. So nothing on the inside covers, but the cool thing, one of the really interesting things about this book is that it's Caxton font, but then they also do hand lettering. So here you can see even you can see it on the main cover too, but they do hand lettering to it looks kind of like old fashioned America, like poster kind of thing, but it also gives off like a really interesting vibe. So the illustrator really integrates this a lot of the time into the text. So like an entire page will just be this handwritten text of her saying she has objected, she has resisted, she has dissented. And I like that it says disagreeable, like just because you're disagreeable doesn't mean that you just because you disagree doesn't mean that you're disagreeable. That's what it is. And I think that that's a really amazing thing to tell young girls because a lot of the time, and this is Ruth Bader Ginsburg's whole life that she was going against the system. So the fact that she can be such a role model, and her mother was a role model to her because she believed that women should be educated even in the 1940s, I think, which was pretty much unheard of. And she ended up going to law school and really like going above and beyond what most women had been able to do or were determined to do at that time. So definitely a great role model. I like this one because they have the background of the kids doing handwriting, and the teacher made her write in with her right hand even though she was left-handed, and that was like a huge deal, and she decided like that she wasn't going to do that because she got bad grades whenever she wrote with her right hand. So they give examples of things in Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life early on, and then they go to how she spent her whole life fighting the system, essentially. She's also Jewish, so it does give a little bit of a different cultural background, but which is really interesting. And the time that she was growing up, there was still a lot of racism, like anti-Semitism, openly throughout the United States. I know that in this one they mentioned that her and her family were traveling and they couldn't stop at a hotel because said no dogs or Jews. So she kept that with her, and she remembers what it's like to be discriminated against, so that whenever she takes her cases in the Supreme Court, she goes into it with that attitude and she takes it from that perspective, which is an awesome way of teaching children how they can put themselves in other people's shoes or use their past experiences in order to propel them into their future, into what they want to do or to help others. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually helped with the manuscript. She tweaked it a little bit. That's what it says in I think in the foreword or in like the cover page. So there's just a couple. The format changes a lot. So like here you'll see that there's text, but then there's like a picture, and a lot of the time they span across the gutter. But then there's also ones. Let's see. So this is one where they use speech bubbles for old judges that have made previous decisions on women's rights. And then obviously Ruth Bader Ginsburg disagreed. So I think that this is a cool way of having them in their old frames, making it look like they're outdated, which they are. and then integrating the speech bubbles into this and then having the handwritten text over Ruth Bader Ginsburg before she goes into her court case in front of the Supreme Court for the first time. I like that they include that she doesn't cook because for parents it shows a non-traditional family style, I suppose, since her husband was primarily the housekeeper and the cook and the one that stayed home with the children, and then she was the one that was out working and eventually made the Supreme Court. So the pages, let me find where she dissents. So yeah, so here are her two collars that I was talking about, and these are the up close and personal pictures that really convey her her opinion just by her facial expressions in the cartoon. So I like that. Let's see, my other favorite page is this one with Judge Scalia, because here they have the speech bubbles again, and then it shows like a little scrapbook type of setup on the next page. So I think that this is a wonderful book. I think you could even, if you didn't know about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, this would be a great way of learning about her for the first time. I think that they have this little forward or this little thing in the back about her whole life, and they have real pictures of her, which is a really nice touch. They put it in the frames like they did with the old judges to show that they're older pictures, and I think it's a really inspiring way of teaching young people about modern day heroes of the United States. So thanks for listening. This was definitely one of my favorites so far, so keep listening.